Welcome to Highly Sensitive, Happily Married, the podcast that teaches you to not only have an easier marriage as a sensitive woman, but to have one that feels more amazing by the day. Where you'll hear relatable stories, love advice that works, and coaching on how to have a marriage where feeling upset and disconnected is a thing of the past, and where instead a sense of loving connection and even fun and lightness is the norm. I'm Hannah Brooks, highly sensitive person, love expert, and marriage coach, and I'm so happy to be on this journey with you. Hello and welcome, my friends, to episode 187. And I want to dive right in by saying that one thing that I know from deep experience is that we can feel closer to our partner in just a matter of a moment, a snap of the fingers. It really can take just one little tweak, one little shift, one moment of doing something differently than you normally do to be able to feel that connection and that closeness you want with your honey. So today's episode is intended to help you do that today and into the future. So in today's episode, we're going to dive into the 4 main areas or categories that we need to focus on, that we need to make some shifts in for the best connection possible with our spouse. But before we dive in, I want you to imagine for a moment, if it only takes one moment of doing something differently than you would have normally done to have a much more loving interaction with your spouse, what will a week of focusing on doing this for your marriage or for your relationship be like? It's going to change things so much, as you can imagine. So you're going to have an actual chance to see this and feel this all yourself when you participate in the Closer to Your Husband in 7 Days Challenge, which is starting Sunday of this week. That's May 4th. So if you participate, if you sign up to join, which I highly encourage you to, you're really going to see how one little shift, one little moment of doing something differently each day really adds up to a lot of beautiful, loving moments and change in this sense of much deeper closeness with your honey. So it is time to join us for this only live round that I'm going to do this year. The Closer to Your Husband in 7 Days Challenge is normally an on-demand do-it-yourself course that you can access anytime, and it's still that. But this week, the week of this recording, starting Sunday, I'm doing a live round for the only time this year. So definitely join us. You'll get personal attention from me and really the support and momentum and energy of the whole group going through it together at once. It's really a lovely experience. I highly recommend it. Or if you're listening to this later, you can still get access to all the same things when you get this course, but just after the fact, right? You won't get as much direct access to me right away, but there will be live calls in the future that you'll get to attend, and you can access the recordings of the past calls as well. So I highly recommend just doing it. Don't wait. It's only $37. Only good things can come out of this. So definitely just go ahead and do it. If you want to learn more about it and get access, you can find the link in the show notes or head over to my website. That's www.hspmarriagecoaching.com, and you'll see a little tab that says courses and events. Click that. You'll find the Closer to Your Husband in 7 Days Challenge right there. All right, so let's get you some shifts today, right now, shall we? So you are going to want to set yourself up for generating deeper connection right away by understanding 2 basic principles first. And then you're going to use these 2 principles in 4 primary categories. Hopefully this will make a little bit more sense in a moment, so bear with me. So let's start with understanding these 2 simple principles, which will really empower you to actually make real change. In fact, because so many people don't understand or really just take these 2 principles seriously, they really are never able to create the kind of connection they really want. So please take these 2 things to heart. They really are 2 of the biggest keys ever to create more love and closeness in your marriage. And of course, we're going to be focusing on them as part of the Closer to Your Husband in 7 Days Challenge. And they're really a huge part of why this week is so powerful. All right, here they are. The first principle that's so important to really grasp if you want a better relationship is this idea of leading love. Although we cannot make our partner be better to us or do things differently, right? We can't control another adult. we do have so much that we can do on our end to generate the kind of loving relationship that we want. What we do from our side of the street, in other words, makes a huge difference. So leading love is about you leading love and connection and all the good things into your relationship. Think of this as modeling how you want to be treated or being the partner you want your spouse to be. Now, we do this not to get our partner to be just like us, but to invite a more loving culture between you and your partner and to create a fertile space for your spouse to feel inspired to reciprocate the love you're infusing into your relationship. One reason my clients get such amazing results when they work with me is they get over being skeptical about this. And I teach them really how to lead love. And they really do it. And it makes all the difference. So you've got to lead love if you want a great relationship. Now keep in mind, if I were working with your partner, if I were talking to your partner, I would say the same thing to them. So this isn't just like I'm only pointing at you, the woman. It's great advice for anyone in a relationship. We can only be responsible for ourselves. We can only control ourselves. And so leading love is part of that. And it's really the best way you're going to create a great relationship. And of course, during the Closer to Your Husband in 7 Days week, I'm going to be sharing one at a time the exact specific things for you to do to step into this place of leading love in a way that actually feels good. So if you want some clarity on how to do that, join us. All right, principle 2, the magic of making real change is in the doing. In other words, focus on taking action if you want to improve things. So not just learning intellectually about improving relationships, but actually doing things differently in your relationship. I know you probably have an intellectual understanding of many things that you could do to make your marriage more loving and connected. And it can be really easy to mistake learning these things with actually applying what you learn. Yeah? But change only happens when you take action on things. I know that sounds so obvious, but I see all the time that people say, like, listen to this podcast and learn things intellectually, but then go back to their life and change nothing about how they interact with their spouse or how they relate to themselves. And so things stay the same as they've been. I've totally been guilty of this too. It's so normal as human beings. But the reality is you've got to do something different if you want things to be different. So don't neglect this essential piece. Take new action and things will be new and different and better. And again, in the Closer to Your Husband in 7 Days challenge, you're going to be focusing on taking action every single day by implementing each of the simple but super effective tasks that I give you to really powerfully lead that love and connection right into your marriage. All right, so these are the 2 really basic principles that will set you up for great change in your marriage if you take them to heart. So again, those are lead love and take real action. Simple but powerful. And then for the best, deepest, loving connection, you really want to apply these 2 principles to 4 primary research-proven areas in your relationship. So in other words, you're going to need to intentionally lead love and take action in 4 general categories. And then you're going to have incredible success at deepening and maintaining connection in your marriage. So I'm going to share these 4 things with you now, these 4 categories. What I want you to understand is, of course, there are many things to do within these categories. In other words, these are sort of overarching areas to focus on. And within that sort of overarching area, there's many different options for how to implement them and what to actually do. So I'll give a couple examples for each category, but if you want real specifics, come join me in the Closer to Your Husband in 7 Days challenge, because it's in there that we're really going to get down to taking action in all of these categories. All right, so the 4 categories to shift things in are, number 1, your blocks to intimacy and connection. So there are many unconscious and semi-conscious psychological barriers that can keep us humans from being truly available for connection and being good at inviting our spouse to move towards more closeness with us. So without overcoming these internal blocks, as we could call them, it can feel like an uphill battle to get to that sweet intimacy you really want. So you all may have heard that beautiful Rumi quote, which I love so much, which is, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. So when you seek and you find what these blocks are for you, you can start shifting them and really even melting them all together so that feeling the connection and closeness you want in your marriage is easy and natural and really a frequent experience. So doing this, seeking these barriers and melting them, is beautiful internal work that shifts everything for the better. Now, you might be asking, like, well, okay, what are these barriers? What does that mean, these blocks to intimacy? Well, there's a lot. Like I said, there's so much that falls in this category. But some examples are blocks can come from our fears or our judgments. And I've spent a lot of time on the podcast discussing how our brains are wired and conditioned over time. And, these thought patterns, we have thought patterns that we develop, and we also have innate brain biases like the negativity bias of the brain that really harden our hearts and act as barriers to loving and letting love in. So without going into a lot of depth on this, because there is a lot of depth to go into on this, I want to point you to a couple episodes so you can understand these barriers. So other episodes I've made on the podcast that will help you understand these barriers better are episode 168, Deeper Intimacy Vitamins, and episode 16, Uncovering the Source of Relationship Pain. Of course, there's lots of other episodes on the podcast where I get into this. It is a focus, a topic that I delve into quite often because, just like Rumi said, we melt the barriers and love pours in. Now, of course, it's important to understand how to spot the barriers and kind of quote unquote remove them. And again, that's really a process, and it can be really powerful to have help with that, which is one of the reasons I work with clients so closely and why I offer the courses that I offer. And even in this short course, A Closer to Your Husband in 7 Days Challenge, we address a couple of these barriers that are so common for us as sensitive women. But for now, for today, just be open to the idea that you, like all of us, have some of these barriers, and just being open to it, just being open to noticing that and that they're there, you might actually start seeing them and seeing them even clearly. And that is the beginning of melting them, of dismantling them. All right, so that's the first category. The second category to shift things in is your energetics. And another word for energetics, if that's kind of a weird word for you, is your emotions. So this is about shifting your own state of being into one most conducive to connection and loving intimacy. So that can look like shifting into a space of more open-heartedness or internal softness, moving into more presence or more vulnerability and non-judgment, moving into more receptiveness and feeling warmth, acceptance, and compassion towards your spouse. All of these and more will translate into your energy. And that kind of energy, that energy is like an entity that invites you and your spouse towards each other into that connection that you want. Now, some of this happens naturally as you release barriers or blocks to love, right? So that first category that we just talked about, really delving into that, will help you naturally shift your energetics into ones that are really conducive to love. And to give you a taste of that right now, one thing you could try is just intending to open to connection today. Just intend it. Like if you truly, truly intend it for yourself, you're going to shift your energy a little bit, your emotions a little bit. It can really bring a lovely energetic shift that really does invite your partner in more. Another thing you could try right now is to approach your spouse with curiosity. instead of, assuming you know everything about him, or instead of judgment, or instead of your normal attitude. Curiosity is so beautiful and so inviting. So if you want to understand that more and get a little help with that right away, absolutely check out episode 66. It's called Curiosity, Communication, and Connecting. It's a really great one for this. All right, so the third category that it's essential to lead love and take action in is your biochemistry. So we really need a certain biochemical cocktail circulating through our blood to feel the most connected and to naturally, authentically act in ways that improve the intimacy and closeness in our relationship. So we can get these hormones and neuropeptides circulating in our bodies and brains on purpose. And there are also ones that we can reduce as well that will literally make us feel connected and more in love with our spouse. So last episode was all about one way, which was physical touch, like snuggling. But you can also do a number of other things. And one idea is to do any activity that helps you reduce stress levels, such as deep breathing. Or you can do a really simple one right now that shifts your biochemistry in a way that's really conducive to love and connection, which is try putting your own hand on your own heart for a minute, a solid minute, or maybe even a little bit longer, and really feeling it there. You can even imagine that your hand is offering care and kindness to yourself, and just be with that for a solid minute. This is proven to start circulating oxytocin in your system and will start to help you feel more loving, more warmth of heart towards your partner, and will also help you receive love and connection better. So knowing how to get these biochemicals circulating in your system is also going to help with that second category, shifting your emotions and energy. And it's also going to help with this last category below. That last category to shift things in your relationship for the best connection is the actual things you do and say. In other words, your personal interactions with your spouse, the way you interact with your spouse. So there are very specific actions and ways of communicating and gestures that are amazing at quickly deepening connection. And many small moments of these add up. So some ideas, some examples are try reaching out your hand to rub your partner's shoulder, or try being genuinely interested when your partner shares something with you, even if it's like a news article or something on social media. Another really powerful thing is following some simple ground rules of great communication. As with all of these categories, there are many things to choose from and some things that are essential to do for deep and lasting connection. All right, so that's the 4 categories. To review them, the 4 categories to shift things in for a lot better connection are: number 1, your blocks to intimacy and connection. Number 2, your energetics. Number 3, your biochemistry. Number 4, the actual things you do and say. So now that you get a very general sense of these 4 categories that you need to be proactive in, you can get started to really lead love and act on these in these 4 areas on a regular basis, and watch as closeness wells way up between you and your spouse. So my friends, get to it. And if you want clear direction full of specific research-backed things to do in all 4 of these categories, instead of feeling like you're just throwing spaghetti at the wall, trying out a million things, then you should absolutely get my short but power-packed course, The Closer to Your Husband in 7 Days. You'll get one concrete, proven to work thing to do from these key categories each day for the next 7 days. And it'll be simple and quick and even fun to implement. And of course, you're also going to get the accountability, the support, and that energy from me and the group to really help you succeed. And if you get in by Sunday, you'll also get the whole live part of this, which again means you get my personal attention and coaching and answers to any questions you have as you move through this process. This is a very light and simple way to make big improvements in your marriage fast. I really believe everyone who listens to my podcast should take this little course. You get so much for the price, and you can come back to it over and over to continue to deepen your love and connection more and more. So get access at the link in the show notes or under the courses tab at my website, which is hspmarriagecoaching.com. I cannot wait to see you feel so much more of the palpable love and connection you really want in your relationship. Be oh so well, my friend.